Welcome to Hope at Night, featuring Samuel Lores, Samuel Lores Jr., Troy Beans, Q&A with our live audience and host, Anil Kanda. Today's episode, have you ever felt abandoned by God? And here's your host, Anil Kanda.
Have you ever felt like you lost control, like you can't see an end, there's no escape, and you don't even have a home anymore? Well, it's possible you may need some new keys on your computer keyboard. But seriously, that feeling of being alone, lost, or trapped, it's real. And it's something, unfortunately, that many people experience in this world today. Our first guests fled Cuba as refugees and faced detention, uncertainty, and separation. Let's hear how they got to the other side. Please welcome to Hope at Night, Pastor Samuel Lores and his son, Samuel Lores Jr. Thank you for being here. What was life like in Cuba?
I learned to love Jesus by myself. Not because my parents teach me, no, they gave me the freedom to love Jesus by myself. And I discovered that this is the best that I can do in my life.
Now,
Love Jesus.
was this challenging in Cuba, being a Christian, a pastor, and in Cuba?
Yeah, especially when you try to be faithful. Because sometimes, almost every time, the government laws is against the Christian. You don't have so much freedom. You cannot share Jesus free. You cannot have a public meeting just in secret, in houses. And many times even doing that, you receive a visit from somebody from the government say, what are you doing? You don't have a permit to do that. And it's hard.
Right, we don't take, here in the United States, we don't have those kinds of issues. Samuel, do you remember that experience?
Oh yeah, I do remember that, especially when I was in school. So there was like some activities like related to the government or the doctrines that they teach. And sometimes I didn't want to go because I didn't feel comfortable like going there. And they talk to me every time and say, if you don't go there, you're gonna lose like the right to do these tests or this exam. You're gonna get a 0 on that.
Yeah.
There's no freedom there.
Wow.
There's no freedom, yeah.
That's incredible. So when was the moment you realized we need to leave?
Yeah, when my son and my daughter, I have a daughter as well, they was a teenager, they came to me and say, Daddy, please help us to leave Cuba. We cannot continue living here because at the school is a problem all the time. They are trying that they go to support the government in some kind of a big meetings that they do to support the government, and for the students was mandatory to go. And when I went to the school, they said they need to go because if they don't go, they don't have any right to study in the future. We will stop them to study. And I said, okay, if they cannot study here, they will study in some place, but they won't go. My son and my daughter said, Daddy, please, help us to leave Cuba.
Wow,
We
you
need to
realized that as a father, we need to get the family out.
Yeah.
I can just imagine with this communist propaganda being stuffed down your throats, you guys realized, look, it's time for us to get out of here or we're not going to survive.
Yeah, no, and I was thinking many times, like a pastor, no, this is my country. God called me to do my ministry here. I won't go out. But reading the Bible, I found something. In the whole history of the Bible, when the people has a problem or needs in your country or they was, their life was insured in their country, they moved to other place. Abraham, Jacob,
Right.
even Joseph and Mary with Jesus, they went to Egypt. And I said, wow, I need to be responsible for my family. I need to help them to go.
You're right. There are many Bible stories where God leads his people from one place to another place of safety or some other experiences to have there. Samuel, you remember when you were 18 years old? How old are you, by the way?
I'm 21 right now.
Oh, this wasn't long ago then, right?
it wasn't long
You were
ago.
18 years old when you left Cuba. What were some of the biggest challenges when you left Cuba?
For me, like the biggest challenge I had was because I left my family. So all my grandparents are back there. So it's been pretty hard to see like to be here 3 years and haven't seen my grandpas, and they're old. And you don't know when it's like the last time you're gonna see them. So that was like pretty much the biggest challenge I had.
Pastor, can you describe what that journey was like when you left Cuba?
Yeah, we flew from Havana to Nicaragua.
Okay.
By road, we go through all the countries: Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico. And in Mexico was when we got a problem because we went to jail.
Could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
So at first when I got there, I was mad. I was really mad because I just didn't understand what God want us to do. Because it was the second time we got like in a detention center. So I felt pretty like sad, mad with God, and it was hard. It was hard. Like I was 18 years old. I wasn't ready for that. I mean, I don't think nobody's ready for that.
Right.
Like just the fact that they're taking their freedom like from you, it's just so bad. And being around like probably more than 600 people in there, it was pretty hard. Having my mom and my sister on the other side, we could like we can only see them for once in a week, for like an hour, and it was pretty hard. It was pretty hard to be away from them, like not knowing how they're doing. Like the food was bad. It was pretty tough.
You said the food was bad?
It was really bad.
that makes it bad, right?
Oh yeah.
With all the experiences that are happening there at this detention center, Pastor, what did you decide to start doing when you were in this detention center?
You know, I receive my mother is somebody that is he come down with hard news. When she received a hard news, she come down, and I said, "Wow, how I can share with my mom that I am in the detention center in Mexico?" But I said, I need to do it, and I did the call. I called my mom and said, "Mom, I want that you know the truth. We are in the jail in Mexico. We are fine." We tried to do the better description about the place, but I really won't say the whole truth. But I was expecting my mom came down. But when I called my mom the next day, my mom said, "Hey, son, I want to tell you something. Man has plans. God has proposal. You are there with some reason. God will use you. Please be strong." And I said, wow, this is the message that I really need from my mom. And I start to fast and pray by 3 days. And my son tell me many times, "Hey, don't do that. We are not eating so good in the last days. We are just eating a little bit. Your body is not strong. Don't fast." And I said, I need to fast. I need to know why we are here. And I remember one guy came to me and said, "We knew that you are a pastor." And I said, "Yes. Can you please preach to us?" And I said, wow, this is the answer to my prayer and my fast time.
They needed some encouragement, right?
Yeah, but you know, I wasn't decided to preach because somebody in the prison was preaching every day. And even the people called him the pastor. And I said, wow, if I come now and I start to preach by myself, maybe it can be a conflict. But when this guy came to me and shared that with me, he asked me to preach, and I said, this is the answer from God. And I said, can that be a conflict with the other guy? And he said, no worries. And I said, we will have guests. And he said, don't worry about that. We will get the people. And I remember one night we have in the meeting, because I have 47 sermons in all this time. And I remember one night we have 94 people attending this meeting.
94 people.
94 people.
In a detention center, listening to sermons.
Yeah, attending the meeting.
What did you share?
You know, the most that I shared was about how God is real. Even in this hard condition, God can be real. And you can see God in the hardest moment of your life. God is real in our life.
So in the midst of all that was going on, this detention center, you're wondering what's the future like? You began to try to listen to the voice of God, and he began to show you how he could use you even in the midst of that circumstance.
Yes.
You probably encouraged lots of people, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell my family all the time, I don't know, but in heaven, we finally will know the result of this time in jail.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, Samuel, you know, there's a lot of talk today about immigration and detention center and politics, but laying that all aside, life in a detention center is tough. You almost got separated from your family. What happened?
So it was a day we were just like every day we're doing like some stuff, and the immigration officer, they came in with a list with some names on it, and it turns out that my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my dad's names, they were there, but not mine. And I got worried because I was like, all right, they're going out and I'm staying here. I'm by myself. I'm like literally 18 years old. What am I gonna do by myself here? And they got out. They were out for like about like an hour. And I was worried. I was like inside of the prison, like calling the officer, say, what am I doing here? My family is out there. What am I doing here? And like an hour and something later, they came in again. And everybody started clapping. And I was like, why are you guys clapping? We're literally gonna go out. And then the next day, people told us that the people who were in that list, they were in Cuba. And then I realized that was the moment, like that was a point of inflection that changed my perspective of how I see God. I was so mad at God. And after that experience, that was the experience that God used to tell me and to prove me that he was there the whole time.
Many people came the following day when the people knew that the people was in Cuba, many people came and say, Pastor, the God that you preach is real. God keep your son out of the list to keep you here, because if not, you were deported to Cuba.
Going all the way back to Cuba.
Yeah, and God did that. And that was a miracle that God did to show everybody that we are not just preaching, we are sharing Jesus, and Jesus is real.
He showed you that he is with you in the midst, even in the midst of that detention center.
Yes.
Pastor Samuel, in regards to all the things that took place afterwards, how did you get to the U.S.?
Yeah, after we got out from the jail, we were trying to reach United States, and even we received people in Mexico that said, hey, you can stay here, you can live in Mexico. And I said, yeah, it's true, we can live in Mexico, but by this time, our family have, you know, the focus that we have is to reach America, because we were planning to start a new life for our children with all the freedom. And even Mexico is not 100% sure to live. It's a little dangerous. Finally, we tried to reach here, but we was in the south of Mexico. And when we tried to get somebody to help us to reach the border, they said, okay, we can help you. How many people you are? Oh, we are 5 people. Okay, we can bring you to the border by $20,000. What?
Whoa, so these were coyotes.
Yeah. A lot of money. And I remember many people that was in jail with us start to go out, and family from United States start to pay them, and they start to reach America. And they contact us, hey, I am in United States. And my family came to me many times and said, hey, everybody's going. What we will do? And I said, I don't have $20,000.
You didn't have that $20,000.
This is so much money. This is not even easy that somebody give you like a loan. It's a big amount.
Right, and you must have sold everything to even make this trip.
Yeah, and I just start to pray. And I remember when I was praying, one pastor came and said, Pastor, can you lead a campaign, evangelistic campaign? And I said, let me ask God if I can or not. And I went and pray, and God said, yes. And I said, how long time? 2 weeks. Okay, God said, go ahead. And after that, a pastor came again and said, hey, we need another campaign. And I said, let me ask God. And I went to pray again, and God said, no more, just 2 weeks. The other week, next to the campaign, I will bring you to the United States. I remember all this time waiting. I was preaching, my son and my daughter and my son-in-law asking me all the time, do you have any plan? 2 days before the last time to finish the last campaign, my daughter called me and said, Daddy, you said 2 weeks and nothing is happening. Do you have something? You have some coyote? You have some money? You have some idea? You have some plan? I don't have nothing. The only thing that I have is that God told me that next week he will be doing something.
Now stop right there. What'd you think about your father at this time?
Okay, so we were there for like you said, for about like 2 weeks. We were there in pastor's house, and it was pretty hard because we were like literally doing nothing. Every time I looked at Facebook, I saw all my friends from prison get into the United States, and it was pretty hard. Like psychologically, it was really hard. And just like by the fact that my dad was doing a campaign, we were just there doing nothing.
You're probably wondering, why are we still here?
Exactly. And I used to call him every day. I'd say, Dad, what are we doing here? Like, what are you waiting? And then he always said, I'm just waiting for God to tell me what to do. And I just didn't understand. How can you believe that? Like, how can you believe that? How can you be so like trustful? And then my dad, he was like, just be calm, have faith. And we waited. And then a miracle happened.
Please share.
Yeah. After I finished my second campaign, God opened the doors. In the next 10 days, we were in the United States.
Wow.
Without pay, almost nothing. God did the miracle. We reached here, and I remember we were crying and giving thanks God, because we know we are here because God bring us here.
God definitely opened the door for you. He
Yeah.
knows how to part the Red Sea still, right?
Yeah.
Samuel, do you remember what it was like when you first entered the United States? What was life like for you then?
It was amazing. It was just so different, but at the same time it was so good, because I finally felt like I was somebody. I was literally like, I felt free when I was like, going this way. Like when I saw that much food on the markets, and like I saw McDonald's. I've never saw McDonald's before in my life. And yeah, I was really happy. It was a big impact in my life, because everything was different. People, culture.
Was life challenging at first?
It was. And people were different. Culture was different. Food was different. And it impacted me so bad, but it was good. It was good at the same time, because I had the chance to experience something new.
When did you notice, as you were in the midst of all these changes now, that you could see light now at the end of this tunnel, that there was improvement happening with your life? You knew God was blessing you guys?
So I felt like for the first time when I felt like God was blessing me was when I got here. So for me, the fact that we got here, like my dad said, without paying like almost any money, that was the first miracle.
Yeah.
Then I understood that God had a purpose for our life. Like God was always like in there
Right.
when we're in a bad situations. When I left Cuba, I had finished all my school in Cuba, like high school. I was 18 years old, and when I got here, they made me retake the last year, like the 12th year, the senior year.
You had to do your senior year again,
Exactly.
huh?
And there is a school named UCA, Upper Columbia Academy, up in Washington State. And I wasn't sure because the school, it was a boarding school, and it was expensive. But we prayed. My family prayed, everybody prayed. And probably like a week before the school started, I got a call from the school saying, you're good to come. Now, I was so happy. It was my first time at Christian school. That was always, was my dream. And there's no private school in Cuba, so I was happy with that. And the first 3 months, they were hard. I just knew the basic stuff, of English,
Okay.
the language, and it was really hard.
So you had to learn how to
Yeah.
speak better English.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I remember my first time when I got into.
you speak very well, by the way.
Thank you.
I have to tell you that. So.
Thank you. So I remember the first time I got to a history class, I was like, what are they saying? I have no idea what they're saying. And I remember I used to call my mom for 3 months saying, Mom, I don't belong here. I just don't feel comfortable here because I don't understand people here. And people don't talk that much here. And I'm a really talkative person, and I just couldn't. And it was hard, but at the same time, after 4 months, I started getting used to it. And I started learning a little bit more. And I started feeling more comfortable with people and with the language and everything. And I felt really blessed. I felt really blessed, yeah.
Pastor Samuel, in this long journey, calling an exodus, following the voice of God like Abraham, going to the United States. Did you ever, throughout the whole journey, feel alone?
No. No, even I remember one of the time when my family came to me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "You know what? I took the decision. I left the driver's seat and I sit in the passenger seat. I leave the driver's seat to Jesus. No matter to me what Jesus will do. I am not worried about what he will be doing, he will be leading our journey. I know he will do everything better than me. And this is because I won't do nothing more by myself. He's in charge. I never feel any doubt or, I knew Jesus was leading everything.
What do you do now?
Now, when we got here, we went to Idaho, and we are part of the American church. But in our city and like 5 cities near to the city, we don't have any Spanish church. And that we did when we get there, I had the idea to start a group in Spanish. And now we are like 40 people.
Wow,
In Spanish
that's
in our
amazing.
city, and we are super excited because we are doing the God work there.
Pastor, thank you so much. And Samuel, thank you so much for sharing this part of your journey. We know that God will continue to guide you. We've been talking with Pastor Samuel Lores and Samuel Jr. about how they found out for themselves that even in the most difficult circumstances, God is at work and we are never alone. When we return, we'll speak to someone who went through his own journey with feeling alone. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hope at Night. Our next guest is a relationship coach with a long history as a teacher and sports coach. He has a journey through loneliness to share with us today. Please welcome to Hope at Night, Troy Beans. Troy, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Absolutely.
Can you share a moment, a pivotal moment in your life where you truly sensed and felt God's presence in the midst of even loneliness?
Yeah, just quick backstory. Last year, September 20, day I'll never forget, I was in Chicago. My daughter woke me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. She was going into labor. She needed me to take her and her husband to the hospital, which is about an hour away, which I did, came back. I have 3 grandsons at home. And then we heard about 12:30 in the afternoon that my granddaughter was born, which, you have a granddaughter, it's the highest of highs. 5:07 that evening, my wife was killed in a car accident. So same day, you have the highest of highs, you have the lowest of lows. And you've never been through something like that, but you're just stunned. You don't believe it.
You're not even sure what you should be feeling.
100% you do. And the next day I could just sense myself starting to just go to a dark place, depression. And I just said, Lord, what do I do? And the Lord just said, Troy, you can go to that dark place. I mean, you can go there, or you can trust in me. I will walk through this with you.
Troy, were there some specific scriptures or some promises that really gave you reassurance during that time?
I just really have a conversational relationship with Jesus. Clearly there wasn't one scripture that popped out, but it was just talking, Lord, how do I do this? How do I handle this? How do I get through this? And it was just, trust in me. I mean, it's not avoiding the pain. It's not running away from it, because it's as real as could be. but it gave me a sense of there's a lot more to this than just you. I've got kids, I've got grandkids, I have my wife's family. All of these things play into all of this. And I just really had a sense that God just put his arms around me and just loved me like I've never been loved in my life. And it's hard, it's difficult. I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. It's something that I wouldn't wish on anybody.
Tragedy is real.
Oh,
Pain
it
is real.
It is. It truly is.
Even Jesus felt that.
Yeah.
And he understands that, right?
Absolutely.
How did your faith grow through the struggles?
One of the things that just was amazing to me, I'm kind of an introvert. I've always kind of gone through life, yeah, I can handle it, I can deal with it, I'll take care of it myself. I don't really need other people. You know, I can hang out by myself and I'm okay. And the community of people that just reached out. I mean, the number of people who called and connected and the way the church took care of us was just amazing. I've never felt the need of someone else and the physical presence of another person was really powerful. I mean, I really appreciated that. And I've always been kind of one to, I'm not really involved in this, I'll just let it go. I can't do that any longer. I reach out, I talk to people because I realize how important that was to me.
Community is so important.
Oh, very much so.
I mean, you see it in the Bible. Obviously, we've experienced in life. We need each other.
Yes.
We were never meant to do life without each other.
Correct.
And especially as you described in some of these really painful moments, these deep, dark struggles that you've had, that you really sense good people surrounding you.
Absolutely.
What were some of the things they did for you?
Well, we were in Chicago. We stayed there for another week and a half, and then we went straight to Dayton, Ohio, where I have a house, and my two kids and I went through that house, and 3 weeks later had an estate sale. But the church in Kettering, they provided food. They had a soccer league on Sundays that they just put my grandsons right into it, and my grandsons thoroughly enjoyed that. Just that church reached out to me, and gift cards that were way more than I thought they would be. They just really helped me in so many different ways. People, for example, when we finally were able to go to the vehicle and collect all my wife's stuff, my son said, I don't want to see that car. I just don't want to see it. And we had a friend who said, hey, I'll go do that for you. I'll go collect her things. And incredibly grateful for that.
When we're going through these dark parts of our journey, struggle, loneliness, affliction, tragedy, it's so hard sometimes to think about all the other responsibilities of life. It's just not in your vision in the moment. And I'm so thankful when God sends good people to surround us and help take care of some of those things. Even the little things,
yes.
It really makes a difference.
Yes, 100%.
Pastor and Samuel, do you remember throughout your journey how important it was that there was community of people sometimes surround you, whether it was in a detention center or inside, a church? How important was community to you in your journey?
Yeah, when we get out from the jail, I remember we found people in Mexico that they were, my wife said that they were like a God hands to us. They give us love. They gave us space to stay. They gave us food, a lot of things. And yeah, God always used people near to us in the community to help us.
Right. Thankful for good people like that, right?
Yep.
Troy, in your experience, what were some unexpected blessings that came from God, reminders that He was still with you through this journey?
I really live by, it's very much cliche, but today matters. And that's really all we have. I mean, all of our days are made up of a lot of days, but right now at this moment, this matters. And so to kind of live in that moment, and what do we need to do now? Sitting down talking to my son and daughter, where do we go from here? How do we handle this? Who needs what? And just living day to day and having God's presence be there. And for the number of people that continue to reach out. You know, of course, the first week or so, a lot of people reach out and then it kind of goes away. But people continue to do that. And then where are we going to have a memorial service, and where are we going to do that? And the friends of ours who reached out to help with that and made that such an amazing experience, a great experience. We'd lived in Colorado for 20 years, so we actually went to Colorado for the memorial experience, and it was beautiful. It was, you know, people said, wow, what an amazing memorial service. I said, well, I have very talented friends who were so willing to come and to honor her, you know, to honor my wife.
That's beautiful. What advice do you have for people who may be in the midst of their own struggles or loneliness?
Jesus is real, and He cares about every little thing in our lives. I think sometimes we have this idea that God is out there somewhere, and we kind of reach out to Him, or we kind of live our lives, kind of forget about it, and then when something happens, we reach out, or we get mad and we don't want to reach out. You know, God's right here, and He wants to be there, and whether it's some small thing or a big thing, He wants to experience life with us. He wants to have conversations with us. He wants to give us wisdom. I mean, He just over and over and over again, Troy, I love you. It's beautiful. It's again, the pain is there. You can't sugarcoat that. You know, my two kids and I both, we keep checking up on each other and say, hey, you know, are we walking through this? Are we grieving properly? I don't know properly how you do that exactly, but you know, for us, it's facing it. You know, a picture will show up on your phone or something will happen, and you know, instead of just, oh, I don't want to think about it. No, think about it. Dig into it and say, Lord, you know, walk me through this again. Walk me through what this is. To be there for my grandkids, to, you know, experience this with them and be able to answer the questions that they may have that may come up. But God just cares about us. I mean, it's amazing how much He cares about everything about us.
Troy, I'm sure through this experience you've been able to encourage others, and you've been able to share personally with people who are in the midst of, you know, what they're going through. Could you share some of those experiences that you've had?
You know, it's when it happens, you join a club you don't want to be part of. But instantly you understand, you know, other people who've been through the same thing. You understand each other, even though you're both kind of going, wow. The thing about death, it's so permanent. You know, there's days you just expect to see them or expect to hear them, and you don't. And it's taken me a while just to grab a hold of that idea of, and so when you talk to someone else who also is going through that experience. I have a former student who, a little over a year ago, her son was killed in a motorcycle accident. And, you know, her and I can talk to each other and we understand. You know, we understand the grief that's, even though it's different for her than it is for me, but it's something that, you know, I do understand. And when I hear that somebody's going through something, I'll reach out. When before I probably, unless I knew them really well, I probably wouldn't have, but I understand how important that physical presence of people. For example, the memorial service, we had people from Florida, California, we had people from all over the country that came, and I just kept telling them, your physical presence here just means the world to me. It's amazing how important that was.
Right. Sometimes the best present is your presence.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
The fact that they showed up in person, it tells you that they're willing to make the effort, they're willing to make the time and the sacrifice, and they want to be there to be a support and encouragement to you. It means all the world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just to disrupt their lives out of the blue to go do this, Yeah, and just having them there was just, I can't even describe, I never even felt anything like that before. And it was very, very powerful.
Pastor Samuel, you know, you've came across lots and lots of people through your journeys, even today, of course, but through this journey you had from Cuba to the U.S., I'm sure you encouraged some very lonely people. What did you tell them?
The thing that the people more, the people is afraid about the new beginnings. And for us to leave everything back and to come, that was a new beginning. And I asked my son, my wife, my daughter before to come, are you willing to start from zero? And they said, yes. My encouragement to the people is don't be afraid to the new beginning, especially to the people that are afraid to start a new beginning with Jesus. Because when you have God, the presence of God in your life, you don't need to be afraid to the new beginnings. You can start from zero, having nothing, but with the confidence that you are not alone. And with God, everything is possible.
That's right.
Right now, we have just, we don't have even 3 years been in the United States. And I can say today, God has been with us in a special way.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Through all out journeys, God has been present.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Troy, the parting promise of Jesus before he separated from his disciples to go to heaven, the last words he said is, I'm with you always.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that so important as the last words he gave to them as they were about to be separated from the Savior? Why was that so important for them to hear?
Well, they'd been with him for 3 years. They'd been through, so many things, and they went through a death that shocked them completely. And he just tell them the truth. I'm going to be there. My Spirit will be with you. You don't have to worry that I've left and you're on your own. You are not on your own. I am here with you. God speaks the truth. Whether we want to believe it or not is one thing, but he wanted them to know. And I think all of us, we don't want to be lonely. We want to have someone that we can count on, someone we can talk to, someone who loves us and cares for us. And when God loves you, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's so what you can deal with and deal with in your life when you know that God is always there.
That's beautiful. The sense of his personal
Yes.
presence with us
Yes.
is so important to life. Troy's story reminds us that loneliness is never the end of the story. God shows up, even when we least expect it. Before we go to break, I'd like to invite you to check out our website at hopetv.org/hopeatnight to view past episodes and download Bible study resources, along with our free gift for the season. We'll be right back with questions from our audience. Don't go away. Welcome back to Hope at Night. We've been talking with Pastor Samuel Lores, Samuel Jr., and Troy Beans on the times they faced moments of isolation, fear, and uncertainty, and how they saw God show up in powerful ways. But now we'd like to open up the floor for questions for our guests. Who has the first question?
Has your turmoil deepened your relationship with Christ, or were there ever moments where you questioned your faith?
I've certainly gone through that in my life. I've had times I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I think in this experience that's just been going on for the last 6 months, and God was just there. I mean, it was just so real, and I just never went to that place of, oh my goodness, where are you? Probably got a little angry, I'll be honest. Lord, why? I'm not happy about this, but never, where are you? Are you there? Are you real? He was very real the entire time.
Pastor?
I did that years ago, no now. I did that when I was a young man, maybe youngest than my son, when I went to the army in Cuba. I prayed hundreds of times asking God, I don't want to go to the army. And I went to the army. And I was angry with God. I said, God, forget me. He didn't answer my prayer. But after 3, 4, 5 months, God showed me that he had me there with a proposal. And right now, I have the happiness to know that some of my partners from army, they are part of the Church of Jesus. God brought me there with some proposal. This is the reason, because in this time, that don't happen. I was sure that God was in the control.
He doesn't always remove those painful circumstances, but he can still step in and turn it around for his glory and to help us through it all. Any other questions?
What does the Bible teach us about loneliness?
I think what you talked about earlier, you know, God said, I'm going to be with you always. And so I'll just say my own experience, it doesn't matter where I've been, it doesn't matter how maybe dismissive of God I have been. When I've reached out, God's there. God's grace is so bigger than I understand. I mean, He cares. He's just there. And we can be completely alone, but not alone. And that's powerful.
That is. Samuel, what do you think about the Bible in regards to loneliness?
So when I think about what happened to me, especially my family, I think about the story of Joseph, who went to Egypt by himself. He was a young kid too. He didn't know the place he was going to. Then he was put in jail for any reason. And I really think how he was faithful. Like his faith never went down. He was always trusting in God. And that reminds me like how God used me to teach another people and like let people know He's always there.
Right? Those stories in Scripture give us hope and encouragement because we see they went through what we're going through in those moments. We really connect with them.
Yes.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
How do you begin to walk with God when you've always walked alone?
Pastor, let's start with you. How do you begin to walk with God when you've always walked alone?
Everything in the life has a beginning. And start the walk with God is just a decision. Many people don't get the blessing of this decision. But when you start to work with God, you can see every time, every day, that this is the best decision in life. Because when you understand that you are not alone, anywhere, any moment, you are with God. This is the biggest blessing that somebody can have in their life.
Yeah, making sure at least we understand from the onset, look, I didn't just start walking with God. He has been with me through this process. Troy, any tips for somebody who's saying, look, I haven't walked with God before. What do I start? How do I begin this journey?
Yeah, I'd say just start. I mean, how do you start? Start talking to God. You know, James 1:5, anybody who lacks wisdom, ask God, and I will give it to you without finding fault. I think we so often go, man, I've messed up a lot. God's a good God. I'm not a good person. So when I get my act together, then I'll kind of venture over there. And God's like, no. I want to talk to you right now. So if you've walked alone, just start. Pick up a Bible, say, Lord, where should I read? 66 books, start somewhere. Let the Lord guide you there and just say, Lord, talk to me. I'm struggling with this. What do you think? And let Him talk back to you. Start to walk through that experience. Listen for Him. And let Him just guide you through it. You'll never regret it.
Beautiful. Speaking of that, Pastor, what's in your hand right now?
A Bible.
A Bible.
Yeah, my Bible.
Now, why is that Bible so old, and why did you bring it?
This is the Bible that I had in all my journey. That Bible was with me all the time, even in the jail. Hundreds of people read this Bible every day. I always didn't have chance to have my Bible just in the morning very early, but after I finished my time with God, many people, Pastor, can I read the Bible? And I was giving the Bible to many people. Looks, but this very, very important for me, this Bible.
Wow. That Bible definitely looks like it's been in and out of a detention center.
Yeah.
But that's also a sign it's been used.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, today I will be having a meeting with somebody from jail that live here. And I know he will be exciting. I am planning to bring the Bible with me. I know he will be excited to see the Bible because he went one of the people that read a lot this Bible.
That's wonderful. And it goes right back to that question of being able to open up the Word of God as you're beginning your walk with God. And through the Word, God speaks to us and ministers to us. And it sounds like you kept that Bible close to you because you knew that's how God was speaking to you. Wonderful. Any other questions?
The question is for you too. How important is community to growing your faith?
I'll say like friends, like is a part of a community. Sometimes you got good friends, sometimes you got bad friends. And when you surround yourself like with bad influence, your bad friends, you're gonna do the bad thing because it's more easy for you to do the bad thing than a good thing. But when you have like around you good people, people that believe the same things you believe, it's a really good environment. And that's something that helped me a lot when I went through high school. Because it was a boarding school, so it was an Adventist school. And it helped me to like build all my beliefs and things I didn't understand quietly. I understand them better now because I have people around me that believe the same thing and help me grow as a person and as a Christian.
Right. Believing in similar things and having positive directions to their life is really important, right?
Yes.
Troy, you talked about community earlier. How important is community to our faith?
Well, I think back my whole life. Amazing parents. I was very fortunate. I can think of teachers that I had that very strong impact on me. I have a really good friend that was a business coach of mine, one of the most spiritual people I've ever known. And when I have a rough time or even a good time, I'll call him every once in a while and say, hey, would you pray for me? And this man prays like nobody else. I mean, and it's just so powerful for how he just will pray over you. He actually had a vehicle that wouldn't start unless he prayed. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that.
Right.
But he said he loaned it to a friend and said it won't start. He goes, oh, you have to pray first. So to have those kind of people in your life, it's just invaluable. And he told me the other day, he goes, every blessing God gives you, He gives through another person. And I thought, wow, it's just so accurate, so true.
Let me add to that. How can we become better community to people who are going through struggles?
For me personally, it's that connection with God, connection with Jesus is how can I reach out? Because you realize this life is not about you. You know, it's about my grandkids, it's about my kids, it's about the community I'm involved in. Lord, how can I reach out? Who today needs encouragement from me? Who needs something from me that I can provide for them? And let the Lord, because sometimes we almost, I better be good to someone, so we just kind of throw it all over someone who's not looking for it. You know what I'm saying? Let the Lord guide you to do that, and then you open up and go where God leads you to go.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Hi, this is for Pastor Samuel. You must be so proud of your son. What we're all seeing is a very brave young man who has good, values and seems to be sharing the same beliefs as you. So did you have to teach him about God, or did he learn for himself?
I try, when he was a very young man, I try to teach him the most that I can. But always I said to him, and I said that to him until today, don't believe just in what I am telling you or what I am teaching you. You need to have your own experience. even I said to him, you don't need to just learn because what I am telling you, because I don't need to say him that it's good to read the Bible. He saw me every morning reading the Bible. I know he's learning. I don't need to say him, hey, read the Bible, read the Bible, read the Bible. He saw me every morning going to read the Bible, studying, praying. I think the example that we can share with others is great at the time to create values and the good things in the life of others. And I think at the same time we are responsible for this.
It sounds like the most powerful witness we have is not when things are going great, but it's when things aren't going great and we're still holding on to God and putting our trust in Him. And that's obviously had a profound impact upon your son. Is that right, Samuel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions?
Pastor Samuel and Samuel Jr., this question is for you guys. You mentioned that while you were in the detention center, there were many individuals that also prayed with you and were believers, and they got deported and sent back to Cuba, but you and your family were able to be freed and were able to make it to the United States. Why do you think that is the case?
You know, I keep contact with many of those people that they were deported to Cuba. I keep contact with many of them until today. And my thinking about that, my believing is that God have a specific proposal for everybody. I don't know the way that God will use many of them that were deported to Cuba. They reached United States first of us, because they went to Cuba, they take a plane back again to Nicaragua, and they did the trip, and they reached United States before us. I don't know how God used this for them, but I am 100% sure that God has a specific proposal for everybody. All that happened in our life is not in vain. God have a specific proposal.
That's right. None of us know how God's working through the immigration system, but one thing we do know for certain is He's with us and He walks with us through the journey, right? Any other questions?
What advice do you have for someone who has been waiting for a long time for a miracle, and time just seems to be running out?
You know, when we pray, God always answers. It's not always the answer we're looking for. I actually have a saying on my phone that just says, trust God, He has all the answers. He knows. He knows things I don't know. Why does someone be healed? Why does someone else die? Why does my wife have this accident? Why does someone else not? I can't answer that. I don't, on this earth, I don't know. I trust God that He has that information, and all of us eventually we're going to perish. We're all going to die at some point. I don't know if that brings any comfort to it, but a miracle, why God hasn't brought it, trust Him, know that He has the answers, why He heals one and not another, why He does. I just trust Him.
And the Bible is full of people who had long, years of waiting for God to work.
Right.
And even when they thought the expiration date had come, God had His own date in mind, right?
Exactly.
Samuel, or Pastor Samuel, what would you say to that person who says, I'm still waiting on a miracle. When is God going to answer? Time's running out.
In the Bible we have a lot of examples about the waiting time. It's a long time for many people, 12 years, 38 years, 400 years. The entire world waiting 4,000 years that Jesus born. But in this world, everything have the time, the exactly time. And God has the exactly time for give the answer to the prayer. Even sometimes the answer is not. But my believing need to be that God will be taking care of me and my situation in the right moment. This is my faith. God knows the right moment to answer my prayer.
He can be trusted.
Yep.
Samuel?
So one thing I want to add up is that the time that I was in jail, I was praying to God even when I was mad at him. I was still praying to him, saying, God, when is this going to happen? When are you going to take us out of here? When are we going to reach the United States? You know how bad I want to get there. Me and my family, we have like nothing in Cuba. We have no money. And I was kind of anxious because I was like, God, we're still waiting here. Where are you? And when he like answered that question, I understood that that was the best time for him to answer that. Because that's when I finally understand like completely what was the purpose of him with my family and me.
In retrospect, you're able to see God had you all along. When we're going through it, it's not so easy, but what you're telling us, hey, look, these lessons of looking back can teach us to look forward when we're in the midst of them in other parts of our lives. This has been such an encouragement. Thank you, gentlemen. We've heard stories of escape, uncertainty, loss, and loneliness, but we've also heard about hope, faith, and God's presence. In the darkest moments, when it seems like there's no way forward, God is already at work. He never leaves us. Deuteronomy 31 verse 6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." If you'd like to learn more, don't forget to visit our website at hopetv.org/hopeatnight for more resources and our free gift for this season. If you're struggling with loneliness or facing a challenge where you feel abandoned, remember, you are never alone. With God, there is always hope at night.